The Ruptured Sky by new debut author Jessica A. McMinn was such a fun fantasy romp that I could not put down, and I cannot wait for y'all to experience this. Everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Ruptured Sky book review. This is from debut author Jessica A. McMinn, and it is out today. It is out now. Go and get a copy of it. All the links will be in the description box down below. I personally loved every minute of it. I read the first 10% and I then blitzed the rest of the book. It's been a very long time since I've read a book in a couple of days, but this one definitely caught my attention. The Ruptured Sky starts with Princess Amikahalia. Now, I hope I pronounce these names right because this book has some of the most fantasy names I have ever come across. So Princess Amikahalia has fled the castle on the eve of her wedding. She only wants one thing in life, and that is to control her own fate and to stop being told what she needs to do by other parties. For the years following that night, she has lived under the radar as a demon hunter, and a pretty good one at that. But she has kept quiet the magic that has been with her since childhood. It is a secret that is about to blow her world wide open. Being quite a good demon hunter, Amika is sought out to help retrieve some precious stones, knowing that there will be some beasties on the way. These stones are so powerful that they could shift the balance of power throughout the world. But while she was under threat, she does release an attack on a demon that was too big for the party and rips through both man and beast to shreds, unleashing the magic she's kept hidden for so long. Shunned and wounded, she has nowhere left to turn. She is now being looked down upon the people who previously sought her out, and she's got nowhere to go until she falls into a madman's prophecy. Amika has two choices here: be the pawn in the game of gods or fight her destiny. As the powers around her begin to rise, she must make her choice. Either way, the world as she knows it will be laid to waste. Without going too much into detail and giving away spoilers, that is the plot in a nutshell. We have got prophecies, we have got strong female leads, we have got magic coming out the wazoo, and a madman. I like all of those things, so I had a really good time with this. I liked a lot about the Ruptured Sky, and this review is basically just a praise fest. I liked the multi-POV that were interwoven throughout the plot beautifully. The pacing was superb, and we also had some queer normativity in this world, which I always find refreshing. I always love a bit of queer normativity, and I found that here. Let's start with the characters, and as you know, it takes a lot for me to really bond with characters because I am a plot and world building driven reader, but I really did like the characters here in the Ruptured Sky. In the prologue, we are introduced to three children who are obviously very close. From the get-go, we as the reader see these kids and their interactions and the relationship dynamics. We get a feel for how they would grow up or grow apart, all within the span of about 20 pages. The first chapter then flashes forward to these characters as adults, and they're our POVs, as well as a couple of others that come into play later in the book. Life for our characters is vastly different than what was depicted in the first 20 pages, but we can still see and feel the connections that have come with them as they've grown up. Straight away, for me, this made me invested pretty much straight away in the backstory of Amika, her brother, and their friend Ray, who comes into play a little bit later. They were obviously all still connected, but I then had to wait and listen to those characters' voices as the story unfolded to see how those connections had shifted over that time. This to me was a really fun way of building the relationships with the crew as more and more pieces of their lives fell into place. By doing this, the author has a natural avenue for world building because we are able to discover the world through the backstories of these characters, and I could feel gripped with the world building as well as the characters as they interwove. And because of this, it felt so natural to do both at the same time within the story that I just wanted more. I just wanted to know these characters, which is, like I said, something that doesn't happen all that often. Another thing that I really liked here that the author has done is introduced more POVs as we met those characters along the way in the book. So because these characters were just mentioned in passing chapters, once they became more integral to the story, they would then get their own POVs and we would get to sit inside their heads as well, which I thought was really cool. It kept me invested in each person and each character and what part they played in the plot as we went along. Now, I know I mentioned Amikalia or Amika as the main person that we follow, and I would argue that yes, we do follow her story for most of the book, but we also do get to go into depth with her brother, Kyokaran, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't looked at that name again, it's not on my written review, so I'm hoping that it's correct, who is the prince, and we also get to see him and their friend Ray as they grew up, and it just was so natural throughout the book that I really liked all of these characters, and even the new characters that came in, which I assume will play bigger parts in the series as the rest of the quartet goes on. The next praise I has for the Ruptured Sky is pacing. In my opinion, pacing can really make or break a debut book. If a debut book is going too slow, people are going to DNF it and not be interested to continue. If it's going too fast, people are going to miss things. And if it's just right, people are going to get excited and pick up that next book and be waiting for that next book to be announced. And I think that McMinn has done a great job of pacing this book just right to have enough world building while also keeping us excited, and the action sequences going throughout the book kept me entertained the whole way. But it didn't move so fast that I felt like I was missing anything. One of the ways McMinn has paced this quite well is short and sharp chapters at the beginning to grip the author, followed by longer but not too long chapters to keep me interested in the ideas that have been introduced in these shorter chapters. The multi-POV aspect also helped in the way the book was spread out, and I do find that multi-POV books do tend to read faster and be paced better for my own reading tastes, but this one was well spread out in my opinion, and with the introduction of new POVs as the book came in, it didn't feel like we were forced to just read about 2 or 3 characters. We did get a variety of characters once the reader's brains was well situated in the original 3 that we were following. Something great about multi-POV or authors that write multi-POV books is the ability to know when your reader is going to start questioning about a character, and McMinn did that for me. So every time I would start thinking about another character, boom, the chapter would be the next one that I got to, and because they were short and sharp, I never had to wait too long to find out what one person was doing, or the person that I was thinking about was doing next to progress the story. The prose was light/dark where it needed to be in my opinion, and it was really easy just to get completely lost in the story, which is something that I absolutely love. Now, the last thing I will say, and the praise here, is something that I will bring up if it is in books going forward, and that is how queer characters were treated in the story. In the real world that is getting more and more scary for the LGBTQIA+ community, having more queer normative representation in books and in things that people will pick up is wonderful, not only for people within those minorities but also for allies to start just seeing these stories as part of our everyday world. And this is something that came up when we did the queer catch-up, was that it's nice just to see, you know, people within that community be able to be people rather than being labeled as X, Y, or Z, and that's very much what happened here in this book. I don't want to spoil anything, so I am going to keep this part rather vague, but I just want to say that the relationships that were in this book were never questioned, they were never mocked, they were never seen as lesser in any way, shape, or form, and it was so refreshing and lovely to be able to read that in what is essentially quite a dark story. The one criticism that I will bring up for the Ruptured Sky is a little bit of continuity. There were some things which didn't quite match up in my brain. The example that I'm going to give here is there is a scene quite early in the book where Amika has, in one sentence, she says that I am not partaking in wine or ale or something because I want to keep clear-headed and I don't want to get silly and drunk because I know that I'm going to have to fight some demons. And in the next page, she takes a flask from her coat and swigs some whiskey. So unless it's alcohol-free whiskey, or she's just very immune to the effects of that particular alcohol, then she may not be level-headed after all. That's just me. That's something that I nitpicked and picked up out of it. And also I did get a little bit confused with one of our characters and the aging up, aging down of said character, but I don't want to go into it because it does get into spoiler territory. But they're my only criticisms that I have for this debut book, which is amazing. I think Jessica McMinn has done a wonderful job of bringing a dark new world to life in an accessible way for new and old readers of the genre. This is indie fantasy done well, in my opinion, and I am highly anticipating book 2 already. I cannot wait. That was the Ruptured Sky. What do you think? Are you going to pick this one up? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.